close your eyes and take a deep breath. Imagine for a moment a world before color, a green and quiet earth waiting for its first song. Then, slowly, a single petal unfolds, painting the very first stroke on nature's canvas. Tonight, we will drift through the ages, following the scent of roses across empires and the whisper of wildflowers across untamed prairies. Let the history of flowers guide you into a deep, peaceful slumber.
Close your eyes now and let your body sink into the comfort of your bed, feeling the softness of the sheets and the gentle rhythm of your own breathing as we prepare to leave the modern world behind, drifting away from the noise and the lights and the endless rush of today, moving backward through the corridors of time, past the busy streets of the 20th century, past the steam and iron of the industrial age, and further back past the stone castles of kings and the dusty roads of ancient empires, until we arrive at a time so deep in the past that the air itself feels different, cleaner and richer, and filled with a heavy, ancient stillness. We are in the Cretaceous period, a time more than 100 million years ago, and the Earth is a vast and verdant garden of green, a world of lush ferns and towering conifers and massive cycads that stretch their leafy arms toward a warm and golden sun. But if you look closely at this endless sea of emerald and moss, you will notice something is missing. For there are no splashes of red or yellow, no fields of violet or blue, because this is a world before flowers, a world that has known only the wind-swept dust of pollen from pine cones and the slow uncurling of fern fronds in the damp shadows. The landscape is a masterpiece of texture and form, a silent symphony of scales and needles and rugged bark, where the mighty dinosaurs roam with slow and thunderous steps, grazing on the high branches of the araucaria trees, their long necks swaying like pendulums in the humid afternoon breeze, and the air is thick with the scent of damp earth and crushed pine needles and the heavy sweetness of rotting wood on the forest floor. Yet there is no perfume of jasmine, no whisper of rose, no sweet nectar to call to the bees. It is a quiet world, waiting for a miracle, waiting for the moment that will change the fabric of life forever. And as we float gently through this primeval forest, we can feel the anticipation in the soil itself, a silent energy building up within the roots and the stems of a small and unassuming plant nestled near the edge of a slow-moving river. The sun dips lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the prehistoric ferns, painting the world in shades of amber and gold. And in this soft twilight, the very first magic begins to happen, not with a shout or a crash, but with a movement so subtle it is almost invisible to the naked eye. Deep within the fibers of this ancient plant, cells are dividing in a new and complex dance, guided by a secret blueprint that nature has been whispering to itself for eons. And slowly, ever so slowly, a small green knot begins to swell at the tip of a slender branch. It looks like a leaf at first, tightly wound and protective, but it is holding a secret inside, a treasure that the world has never seen before. And as the moon rises large and silver over the Jurassic landscape, casting a pale glow over the sleeping giants of the forest, the little bud continues to grow, drinking in the cool night air and the morning dew.
Days pass in a lazy rhythm of light and dark, with the gentle hum of dragonflies the only sound breaking the silence, until one warm morning, when the humidity hangs low like a soft blanket over the land, the pressure within the bud reaches its breaking point. Imagine you are there, hovering close to the ground, your breath held in wonder, watching as the green casing begins to split, revealing a glimpse of creamy white underneath, a color so pure and stark against the endless green that it seems to shine with its own inner light. This is not just a biological event, it is the birth of beauty, the dawn of a new language that will speak to insects and birds, and eventually to the hearts of humans, though we are still millions of years away from walking this earth. The petals, thick and waxy, begin to unfurl one by one, moving with the slow and deliberate grace of a waking sleeper, opening themselves to the sky in a gesture of absolute trust and vulnerability. This is the first flower, likely a relative of the magnolia or the water lily, ancient and regal, possessing a simple geometry that spirals outward from a golden center. As the flower opens fully, it releases something into the air that has never existed before, a scent, a fragrance, a chemical melody that drifts on the breeze, weaving through the ferns and the pine trees, carrying a message of food and energy. A small beetle crawling along the rough bark of a nearby cycad stops and waves its antennae, confused and intrigued by this new invitation, and it changes its course, drawn by the invisible ribbon of scent toward the source. The beetle clambers over the moss and the twigs, finding the white petals, and climbs inside the cup of the flower, becoming the first guest in history's first banquet, dusting itself with pollen in a silent pact that will bind the fate of plants and animals together for the rest of time. This moment is peaceful, incredibly slow, and profoundly important. Yet it happens in the quiet corner of a vast continent, witnessed only by the wind and the trees. As you watch this single bloom, you realize that this is the grandmother of every rose you have ever smelled, every daisy you have ever picked, every tulip that has ever graced a table. From this one act of courage, this one decision to bloom, a wave of color will eventually sweep across the planet, turning the monochrome forests into a kaleidoscope of hues, bringing fruit and nuts and seeds that will feed the mammals and eventually allow us to exist. But for now, there is only this one flower, a solitary beacon of white in a sea of green, standing still in the warm air of the Cretaceous afternoon. The sun warms its petals, and the flower basks in the light, turning its face toward the source of life, absorbing the golden rays and transforming them into sugar and growth. Feel the tranquility of this ancient garden, where there are no clocks, no deadlines, no schedules to keep, only the rising and setting of the sun and the slow drift of clouds across a blue and unpolluted sky. The air is rich with oxygen, making your breathing feel deep and effortless, filling your lungs with the pure essence of a clean world. And as you breathe in, you can almost smell that faint, primitive fragrance, a mix of citrus and spice, simple yet profound.
The forest around the flower is alive but restful. The great dinosaurs are resting in the shade, their breathing slow and rhythmic, matching the pulse of the earth itself. And the ferns sway gently, whispering secrets to the mossy ground. You are safe here, protected by the vastness of time, invisible and weightless, a silent observer of the earth's most beautiful invention. Imagine sitting beside this first flower, feeling the damp coolness of the ancient soil beneath you, leaning back against the rough trunk of a tree that has stood for 1,000 years. Above you, the canopy of leaves filters the sunlight into dappled patterns that dance on your closed eyelids, warm and soothing, hypnotic and calm. The world is moving so slowly here, the passage of time marked only by the growth of a leaf or the movement of a shadow. You can feel your own heartbeat slowing down to match the pace of this prehistoric world, your muscles relaxing, the tension melting away from your shoulders and your neck, flowing down into the earth to be absorbed and neutralized. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be, just here,
in the presence of the first bloom, witnessing the beginning of softness in a hard world. As the afternoon wears on, the light begins to change again, shifting from the bright gold of midday to the soft lavender of early evening, and the flower begins to close slightly, protecting its precious center for the night, a gesture of rest that mirrors your own need for sleep. The air cools down, and a gentle mist rises from the river, wrapping the forest in a blanket of silence, dampening every sound, making the world feel intimate and enclosed. You are drifting now, drifting like a leaf on the surface of a calm lake, supported and held by the peacefulness of the story, allowing the image of that single white flower to remain in your mind's eye, a symbol of hope and new beginnings. The forest is settling down for the night, the creatures of the day finding their burrows and nests, and the stars beginning to prick the velvet darkness of the sky, stars that look exactly the same as the ones that shine over your home tonight, connecting you across the millions of years to this moment of origin. You are part of this story, part of this lineage of life that began with that first brave opening of a petal. Feel the heavy, comforting weight of sleep pressing down on you, inviting you to join the ancient world in its slumber. The flower sleeps, the forest sleeps, the dinosaurs sleep, and you too are ready to sleep, carried on the soft currents of history, floating through the mists of time, back toward the safety of your own bed, but bringing with you the peace and the stillness of the first garden. Let the green silence wrap around you like a warm quilt. Let the fragrance of the first bloom lull you into a deep and dreamless rest. The earth is holding you, the past is cradling you, and as the darkness fully descends over the Cretaceous forest, everything becomes still, everything becomes quiet, everything becomes peace. Sleep now, surrounded by the memory of the first flower, safe in the knowledge that beauty will always find a way to bloom, even in the wildest of places. Drift deeper, sink lower, into the quiet, into the calm, into the sleep that has waited for you since the beginning of the world.
From the deep green shadows of the prehistoric forest, we now drift gently forward on the river of time, leaving behind the age of dinosaurs to arrive at a new dawn where the golden sands meet the endless blue sky, finding ourselves on the banks of the mighty Nile River in ancient Egypt, a civilization built upon the rhythms of water and the sun and the blooming of flowers. The air here is warm and dry, carrying the scent of baked earth and distant spice. But as we move closer to the water, the temperature drops, becoming cool and refreshing, kissed by the moisture of the river that snakes its way through the desert like a lifeline of liquid sapphire. It is the season of inundation, when the river swells and gifts the land with fertile black soil, and everywhere you look, life is bursting forth from the mud in a vibrant display of green and gold. But amidst the reeds and the tall papyrus stalks, there floats a flower that is more than just a plant to these ancient people. It is a key to the divine and a vessel for dreams. Imagine you are gliding silently on a small wooden boat made of cedar, drifting down the center of the Nile with the current guiding you effortlessly, the water lapping gently against the hull with a hypnotic and rhythmic sound that instantly soothes your mind. On either side of the river, the desert stretches out into infinity, vast and silent. But here, on the banks, there is a lush paradise of date palms and sycamore trees, casting long, cooling shadows over the water. As you look down into the calm surface of the river, you see them, thousands of them, the sacred blue lotuses of the Nile, their pointed petals reaching upward toward the sky in a gesture of prayer and reception. The blue lotus is not merely beautiful, it is a miracle of nature,
that the Egyptians revere as the origin of life itself, for in their stories, the sun god Ra first rose from the darkness inside the cup of a lotus flower. And so every morning when the sun climbs over the horizon, these blue flowers open their petals to greet the light, releasing a fragrance that is sweet and heady and profoundly relaxing. Breathe in slowly now, imagining that you can smell this ancient perfume, a scent that has comforted kings and queens for thousands of years, a floral aroma with hints of vanilla and fruit that seems to slow down time itself, making your heavy eyelids feel even heavier. The boat drifts closer to the shore, and you step off onto a limestone path that leads away from the river and toward a high-walled garden belonging to a pharaoh, a sanctuary of peace hidden away from the noise of the world. The walls are tall and smooth, peeping out the desert wind and creating a quiet enclosure where the air is still and fragrant. As you walk through the entrance, the sound of the outside world fades away completely, replaced by the soft trickling of water from a central fountain and the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. This is a garden designed for rest, a place where the royal family comes to escape the heat of the midday sun and to find solace in the beauty of nature. The path is lined with mandrake and poppies and cornflowers, but the centerpiece is always the pool, a rectangular mirror of water filled with more of the sacred lotuses, floating peacefully on their flat green pads. You find a comfortable spot on a bench carved from smooth alabaster, covered with soft linen cushions that feel cool against your skin, and you sit back, letting your gaze soften as you watch the play of light on the water. In this ancient world, flowers are not just decorations, they are messengers from the gods and companions in the journey of sleep. For the Egyptians believed that the realm of sleep is close to the afterlife, a beautiful field of reeds where the soul can wander freely. The blue lotus is the guide for this journey, used in teas and wines to induce a state of blissful relaxation and vivid dreaming, helping the mind to let go of the worries of the day and float into the mystery of the night. You watch as a dragonfly with iridescent wings hovers over a lotus blossom, its movements precise and graceful before landing on a petal that dips slightly under its tiny weight. The sun is beginning to lower in the sky now, painting the limestone walls in shades of orange and violet, and the garden begins to change, preparing for the arrival of the night. As the light fades, the blue lotuses begin their nightly ritual, slowly closing their petals, folding inward to protect their golden centers, sinking slightly beneath the surface of the water to rest until the dawn. This closing is a signal to your own body, a gentle reminder that it is time to turn inward, time to close your eyes and sink beneath the surface of consciousness into the healing waters of sleep. The air in the garden cools down rapidly as the desert heat dissipates, and a fresh breeze brings the scent of jasmine and myrrh from the temple nearby, a grounding and earthy smell that makes you feel safe and protected. You can imagine the pharaohs of old walking these same paths, breathing this same air, seeking the same peace that you are finding right now, their grand responsibilities fading away in the presence of the simple, enduring beauty of the flowers. There is a profound silence here, a silence that has weight and substance, absorbing every thought and every tension, leaving only a quiet hum of existence. In the distance, you might hear the faint melodic sound of a reed flute being played by a shepherd, the notes drifting across the water like smoke, lonely and beautiful, weaving into the tapestry of the evening. The sky above turns from blue to a deep velvety indigo, and one by one the stars begin to appear, sharp and bright in the clear desert air. The same stars that guided the builders of the pyramids, the same stars that watch over you tonight. The garden is now bathed in the soft silver light of the moon, which reflects off the white stone and the dark water of the pool, creating a landscape of dreams, a place between worlds where everything is soft and nothing is urgent. You feel a deep connection to this land, to the way the people here honored the cycles of nature, understanding that rest is just as important as work, that the closing of the lotus is just as beautiful as its opening. Your breathing has matched the rhythm of the wind in the palm trees, slow and steady, deep and restorative. You are safe within these walls, guarded by the silent statues and the spirit of the flowers. Imagine that you are lying down now on a bed of woven reeds and soft cotton, placed under the open sky in the center of the garden, looking up at the Milky Way stretching across the heavens like a river of milk. The scent of the lotus is still in the air, fainter now, but still present, a lingering promise of sweet dreams. You feel the history of this place seeping into your bones, not as a burden, but as a comfort, knowing that you are part of a long line of human beings who have found solace in the beauty of a flower. The Nile continues to flow nearby, an eternal presence, moving water from the mountains to the sea, carrying the essence of the lotus to the rest of the world. You are drifting on that river now, in your mind, floating on a raft of flowers, weightless and free. The water is warm and supportive, holding you up, carrying you gently toward the horizon of sleep. There is no resistance, no need to steer, just the gentle pull of the current taking you exactly where you need to go. The images of the garden, the white walls, the green palms, the blue petals, begin to blur and soften, merging into a comforting haze of color and peace. You are leaving the banks of the waking world, slipping quietly into the field of reeds, the Egyptian paradise of eternal rest. Every muscle in your body is loose and relaxed, heavy with the pleasant fatigue of a long and beautiful journey. The silence of the desert surrounds you, a vast and protective blanket that muffles all sound, all worry, all thought. You are alone in the best possible way, accompanied only by the moon and the memory of the sacred flowers. The blue lotus has closed for the night, and so must you. The sun has gone to the underworld to be reborn, and you too must descend into the darkness of sleep to be refreshed for the new day. Let go of the boat, let go of the shore, let go of the garden. Simply be, simply float, simply sleep. The ancient sands whisper to you, telling stories of old that do not need words, only feelings of warmth and safety. The night is long and peaceful. The stars are watching. The river is flowing. The flowers are sleeping. And you are drifting deeper and deeper into the sacred, silent, and flower-scented dark of the Nile. Leaving behind the sacred waters of the Nile and the silent temples of Egypt, we allow the currents of the air to carry us eastward, floating high above the golden expanses of the Arabian deserts, where the sand dunes shift slowly like sleeping giants under the sun, drifting until the dry heat begins to soften and the landscape changes once more, revealing the fertile embrace of two great rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, which cradle the ancient city of Babylon like a precious jewel in the palm of the desert. We are traveling back to a time of wonder, approaching the legendary blue gates of the city, the Ishtar Gate, with its glazed bricks shimmering like the night sky and the daylight. But our destination lies beyond the walls, rising up from the flat plains like a miraculous emerald mountain constructed by human hands. This is the site of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, a marvel that defies the laws of nature, a lush and vertically rising paradise built not for power or strategy, but for love, created by a king for his queen who missed the green hills and the wildflowers of her distant homeland. Imagine standing at the base of this architectural wonder as the sun begins to set, casting long and gentle shadows across the intricate terraces that climb toward the heavens. The air here is distinct, separated from the dusty heat of the city by a curtain of moisture and fragrance, for water is being lifted constantly from the river below, pumped through a hidden system of screws and channels that pulse like the veins of a living creature, carrying life to the highest tiers. You can hear the sound of this water, a constant rhythmic trickling that cascades down from one level to the next, splashing gently into stone basins and running through small canals lined with cool moss. It is a sound that washes away all tension, a white noise of nature that invites you to close your eyes and listen deeply. As you begin to ascend the wide stone steps of the garden, you are surrounded by a botanical collection gathered from every corner of the known world. Trees that offer shade with their broad leaves, vines that drape elegantly over the edges of the walls like green tapestries, and flowers that bloom with an intensity of color that seems almost unreal against the beige of the surrounding desert. There are pomegranates bursting with ruby seeds, figs hanging heavy and sweet, and exotic blossoms that release their perfume only in the twilight, filling the air with notes of honey and musk. Walk slowly through these elevated pathways, feeling the coolness of the stone beneath your feet and the soft brush of fern fronds against your skin. This garden is a testament to the idea that beauty can be cultivated anywhere, that a sanctuary of peace can be built even in the harshest of environments. As you reach the upper terraces, the view opens up, revealing the sprawling city below and the endless horizon beyond. But up here, everything is quiet, everything is still, and you are suspended between the earth and the sky in a floating world of petals and leaves.
It is here, in this cradle of civilization, that stories begin to weave themselves into the stems of the flowers, stories that travel on the trade winds across the Mediterranean Sea to the rocky shores and olive groves of ancient Greece. Let your mind drift now, carried by that same wind, leaving the hanging gardens behind and crossing the glittering sea to a land of marble temples and cypress trees, where the gods and goddesses are said to walk among the mortals. In this ancient Greek landscape, flowers are not just plants, they are the echoes of myths, the transformed spirits of beautiful youths and emotional moments frozen in time. Picture a quiet glade in a dense forest, where the sunlight filters through the canopy and shafts of gold, illuminating a still and glassy pool of water that reflects the trees and the sky with perfect clarity. This is the home of the narcissus, a flower that was born from stillness and introspection. The legend whispers of a young hunter named Narcissus, known for his beauty, who one day stopped to drink from this very pool and became captivated by his own reflection, not out of vanity, but out of a desire to understand the beauty he saw, unable to look away, until the gods, sensing his stillness, transformed him into a flower so he could remain by the water forever. Visualize this flower now, growing on the muddy bank, its white petals spreading outward like a star, surrounding a golden cup in the center, its head bowed slightly on a slender green stem as if gazing eternally into the water below. The narcissus carries a scent that is intoxicating and sweet, a fragrance that encourages deep sleep and heavy dreams, pulling you down into a state of total relaxation. It teaches us the beauty of pausing, of stopping the endless motion of life to simply be, to look, to reflect. Nearby, in a sun-drenched meadow where the grass is tall and soft, another flower tells a story of friendship and the fleeting nature of youth. This is the hyacinth, a bloom of deep violet and blue, growing in clusters that look like curled locks of hair. The Greeks tell of the god Apollo and his companion Hyacinthus playing a game under the bright sun, laughing and carefree, until a tragic accident with a discus took the young man's life, and from his blood the earth brought forth this magnificent flower to keep his memory alive. But tonight, there is no tragedy in this story, only the peaceful transformation of grief into beauty, the way the earth recycles every emotion and turns it into something that can bloom again. Smell the rich floral perfume of the hyacinth as it wafts through the warm evening air of the Greek countryside, a scent that is synonymous with spring and renewal. The sun is setting over Greece now, turning the white marble columns of the temples into glowing embers of pink and orange, and the cicadas begin their evening song, a rhythmic buzzing that acts as a lullaby for the land.
You are walking through these ancient hills, surrounded by the ghosts of myths that have become the flowers at your feet. The anemone, the violet, the rose, each one has a name, each one has a spirit, and they are all nodding their heads in the gentle breeze, preparing for the night. The connection between the hanging gardens of Babylon and the wild hills of Greece is the thread of human imagination, the way we have always looked at flowers and seen something more, something divine. Feel the heavy comfort of these stories settling over you like a warm blanket. You are walking in the footsteps of the ancients, breathing the same air, seeing the same blooms. The world of the past is not gone, it is simply resting, preserved in the petals of the flowers that return year after year. The water from the Babylonian terraces is still falling in your mind, a gentle rain of sound, mixing with the rustle of the olive trees in Greece. Your body feels ancient and heavy, rooted to the earth like the plants you have visualized. There is a profound sense of safety in these old stories, a knowledge that the earth has always taken care of its own, turning sorrow into flowers and labor into gardens. As the twilight deepens into night, the colors of the flowers begin to fade into shades of gray and silver, but their scents become stronger, wrapping around you, holding you in a fragrant embrace. You can rest now. The garden of the world is wide and beautiful, and you have walked its paths from the desert to the sea. The narcissus watches over your sleep with its quiet white gaze, and the hyacinth sings a purple lullaby of memory and peace. The water wheels of Babylon have stopped their turning for the night, and the wind in the Greek cypresses has died down to a whisper. Everything is pausing. Everything is waiting. The myths have been told, the legends have been woven, and now there is only the soft velvet darkness and the promise of a restful slumber. Let the images of the terraced gardens and the mythical meadows dissolve slowly, leaving behind only a feeling of contentment and deep ancient peace. You are floating in the space between the stories, in the quiet garden of your own mind, where the only thing that matters is the rhythm of your breath and the heaviness of your limbs. Sleep is the final myth, the most beautiful story of all, and you are stepping into its pages now, leaving the waking world behind to wander in the eternal fields of the night.
Leaving behind the marble temples of the Mediterranean and the hanging gardens of the desert, we allow the wind to carry us further eastward, lifting us high over the snow-capped peaks of the Himalayas, where the air is thin and pure, drifting like a cloud across the vast continent until we begin to descend into a landscape of mist and mountains, entering the ancient and mysterious world of the East. We find ourselves first in the high imperial gardens of ancient China, a land where flowers are not just plants, but symbols of virtue and endurance, and the season here is autumn, the time of cooling air and turning leaves.
The landscape looks like an inkwash painting, with jagged limestone karsts rising out of a sea of white fog, and nestled in the valley below is a pavilion with a curved roof made of glazed green tiles. It is quiet here, a profound silence broken only by the sound of a distant bell ringing from a monastery, deep and resonant. As you walk through the moon gate, a circular opening in the garden wall, you are greeted by the glorious sight of the chrysanthemum, the flower of the emperor and the symbol of long life. In this garden, the chrysanthemums are blooming in 1,000 shades of gold and bronze, russet and white, their petals curving inward in perfect spheres or exploding outward like fireworks frozen in time. The Chinese poets have written about this flower for centuries, admiring how it blooms bravely against the coming frost, refusing to bow to the cold, standing tall and noble when other flowers have faded away. Imagine you are sitting on a porcelain stool in this garden, sipping a warm cup of herbal tea that smells faintly of dried flowers, watching the mist swirl around the golden blooms. The scent of the chrysanthemum is unique, earthy and herbal, a grounding fragrance that connects you to the soil and the turning of the seasons. It teaches us the wisdom of patience and the beauty of resilience, reminding you that there is a time for rest and a time for endurance. The air is cool against your cheeks, refreshing and clean, but your body is warm and comfortable, wrapped in the silk of your imagination. From this place of strength and longevity, we gently lift away again, floating across the narrow sea to the island nation of Japan, arriving in a different season, a time of softness and fleeting wonder. It is spring in the floating world, and the land is bathed in a soft pink light, for the cherry blossoms, the sakura, have opened their buds to the world. We're walking now along the path of philosophy in Kyoto, a stone walkway that follows a quiet canal lined with hundreds of cherry trees. The branches meet overhead, creating a tunnel of pale pink clouds, blocking out the sky with their abundance. The air is sweet and delicate, filled with a faint, almost imperceptible perfume that teases the senses.
In the culture of the East, the cherry blossom is the most poignant of all flowers because its life is so short, blooming gloriously for only a few days before falling to the ground. This fleeting nature is called mono no aware, a gentle sadness at the passing of things. But tonight it brings a sense of peace, a realization that beauty is in the present moment, right here, right now. As you walk, a gentle breeze stirs the branches, and a shower of petals begins to fall around you like soft, warm snow. Watch them drift through the air in slow motion, dancing and twirling, catching the light as they descend. One petal lands gently on the surface of the canal, creating the tiniest ripple that expands outward, disturbing the reflection of the sky for just a moment before the water returns to stillness. You feel a sense of weightlessness, as if you too are a petal drifting on the wind, with no destination and no hurry, simply existing in the beauty of the spring afternoon. The ground beneath the trees is carpeted in pink, softening your footsteps, making your movements silent and reverent. People are sitting quietly under the trees, practicing hanami, the art of flower viewing, sharing silence and tea, united by the simple act of looking at something beautiful. The atmosphere is one of communal peace, a shared exhale of relief that winter has passed and life has returned. From this outdoor spectacle, we move inward, seeking a deeper, more intimate kind of quiet. We enter a traditional wooden house, sliding open the shoji screen door with a hushed sound of paper on wood. Inside, the light is dim and filtered, casting soft shadows across the tatami mats that cover the floor. The smell here is organic and soothing, the scent of dried straw and aged wood and incense. In the tokonoma, the alcove of honor, sits a single ceramic vase,
and kneeling before it is a master of ikebana, the Zen art of flower arranging. Watch closely, for this is a meditation in motion. The master does not simply put flowers in a vase, he enters into a conversation with nature. He holds a single branch of pine, feeling its weight, its curve, its history. He trims it with a sharp, decisive click of the shears, a sound that rings clearly in the silent room. He places it in the vase, representing heaven. Then a single camellia flower is chosen, its red petals stark and vibrant. He trims the stem and places it lower, representing man. Finally, a small cluster of green leaves is added near the water, representing earth. The arrangement is not crowded. It is defined by the empty space around the flowers, the ma, which allows the eyes to rest and the mind to breathe. In the Western world, we often fill every space, but here in the quiet East, we learn that emptiness is full of possibility.
As you watch the arrangement come together, you feel your own mind being decluttered, the unnecessary thoughts and worries being trimmed away like the excess leaves, leaving only what is essential, only what is beautiful. The master sits back, his hands resting on his knees, and bows to the flowers, acknowledging their life and their sacrifice. You, too, feel a sense of gratitude for this moment of stillness. The room is so quiet, you can hear the sound of your own heart slowing down, finding a rhythm that matches the slow growth of the plants. The image of the single red flower against the simple clay vase remains in your mind, a focal point for your meditation. Outside the paper walls, the wind whispers through the bamboo grove, a rustling sound that sounds like shh, nature's own lullaby calming you down. The journey through the East has taken you from the golden resilience of the autumn chrysanthemum to the pink clouds of the spring cherry blossoms, and finally to the silent, disciplined beauty of the single-cut flower. Each step has been a step closer to your own center, a step away from the noise of the world. The floating world is a world of dreams, where the boundaries between the physical and the spiritual soften and blur. You are drifting now like a boat on a moonlit lake, floating past the green willows and the stone lanterns. The water is smooth as glass, reflecting the stars above. There is nothing left to do. The flowers have bloomed, the petals have fallen. The arrangement is complete. Your day is complete. It is time to let go, to surrender to the flow of the river of sleep. Imagine the scent of the tatami mats and the faint trace of incense wrapping around you, grounding you, making you feel heavy and warm. The visual of the falling cherry blossoms returns, but now they are falling behind your closed eyelids, a curtain of soft pink closing the show. One by one, the petals cover you, warm and soft and weightless. You are safe in the floating world. You are at peace in the garden of the East. The bell from the distant mountain rings one last time, a low hum that vibrates through the air and fades into absolute silence. In this silence, you find your rest. In this silence, you find your sleep. Drifting, floating, dreaming in the eternal garden of the floating world. Leaving behind the delicate cherry blossoms and the quiet tea rooms of the islands, we let our spirits rise on the great trade winds, drifting westward across the Yellow Sea and over the vast and rugged expanse of the Asian continent, leaving the green valleys for a landscape that is harsher, yet possessed of a breathtaking and infinite beauty. We are approaching the Silk Road, the ancient network of trails and pathways that stitched the world together for centuries, a lifeline of commerce and culture that wound its way through the highest mountains and the driest deserts on Earth. Imagine that you are floating high above this landscape, looking down at the golden ribbons of sand that stretch out toward the horizon, glowing soft and warm in the late afternoon sun. Below you,
Moving with a slow and hypnotic rhythm is a caravan, a long line of Bactrian camels with shaggy coats and heavy packs, their padded feet stepping silently on the shifting sands, a motion that has continued for thousands of years, a steady, rocking gait that lulls the mind into a trance. These travelers are carrying silk and porcelain, yes, but hidden deep within their leather saddlebags are treasures far more fragrant and mysterious. They are carrying the seeds of beauty, the bulbs of flowers, and the dried essence of petals that will one day bloom in the gardens of kings thousands of miles away. Join the caravan now, lowering yourself gently until you are walking alongside these magnificent beasts, feeling the dry, clean heat of the desert air and hearing the soft, rhythmic clinking of the brass bells hanging from the camels' necks. Ding, 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 a sound that marks the heartbeat of the journey, a sound that never hurries, never rushes, but simply continues, step after step, mile after mile. The caravan is passing through the foothills of the Tian Shan Mountains, the heavenly mountains, where the air is crisp and smells of wild sage and sun-baked rock. It is here, in these rugged valleys, that the tulip was born, not in the manicured beds of Europe, but here, wild and red and tenacious, growing among the stones. Imagine the merchants carefully wrapping these precious bulbs in layers of coarse burlap and soft wool, protecting the dormant life inside, knowing that within this dry, papery skin lies a fire of color waiting to be unleashed. They are carrying the promise of spring across the winter of the desert. Alongside the tulips, the camels carry sacks of dried lavender from the highlands, its scent escaping through the weave of the fabric, a calming, dusty floral aroma that mixes with the smell of the camels and the leather harnesses. Close your eyes and imagine that scent, the smell of travel, the smell of earth, the smell of dried flowers that have soaked up the sun of 100 days. It is a scent that clears the mind, a scent that speaks of wide-open spaces where the only ceiling is the sky. The sun begins to dip lower, turning the sand dunes into waves of deep orange and violet, the shadows stretching out long and thin across the desert floor. The heat of the day is lifting, replaced by a gentle coolness that rises from the ground, a relief that washes over the travelers and over you.
The caravan slows down, the lead camel driver raising his hand to signal the end of the day's march. They have reached an oasis, a small miracle of green in the sea of gold, where a spring of fresh water bubbles up from the earth, surrounded by date palms that whisper in the evening breeze. Listen to the sounds of the camp being set up, the soft thud of heavy packs being lowered to the ground, the groans of the camels as they kneel in the sand to rest, the quiet murmurs of the men speaking in languages that have long since faded into history. A fire is crackling to life, the dry wood popping and hissing, sending sparks drifting up into the gathering twilight. You sit near the warmth of the fire, feeling the tiredness of the journey settling into your bones, a good and heavy tiredness that promises deep sleep. One of the merchants opens a small wooden box, and instantly the air is filled with the rich golden scent of saffron, the dried stigmas of a crocus flower, more valuable than gold, harvested by hand in the fields of Persia. He sprinkles a few strands into a pot of tea, and the steam rises, carrying the floral, metallic, hay-like fragrance to your nose. Breathe it in deeply. This is the scent of the Silk Road, a smell that is exotic and comforting, a smell that bridges the gap between the East and the West. As you sip the imaginary tea, you feel a warmth spreading through your chest, relaxing your muscles, untying the knots of tension in your shoulders and back.
The sky above has turned a deep velvet black, and the stars have come out in their millions, brighter and clearer than you have ever seen them. There is no light pollution here, only the glittering band of the Milky Way stretching from one horizon to the other, a river of stars to match the river of sand below. You lie back on a pile of woven rugs, the intricate patterns barely visible in the firelight, the wool soft and scratching gently against your skin. The desert is silent now. The wind has died down, and the only sound is the rhythmic chewing of the camels and the settling of the embers in the fire. This silence is vast, a silence that has existed for eons, a silence that wraps you in a cocoon of safety. You think about the flowers resting in the packs nearby, the tulip bulbs sleeping in the dark, waiting for their journey to end, waiting for the soil where they will put down roots. You are like them, a traveler on a long journey, currently resting in the dark, gathering strength for the blooming that will come with the morning. But for now, there is only the night.
The connection between the East and the West is not just a road of commerce, but a road of dreams, where the scent of a rose from Damascus can travel to the palaces of China, and the peony of the East can find its way to the gardens of Rome. You are part of this flow, part of this great movement of life and beauty across the world. The fire burns down to a soft red glow, and the camp falls asleep. You can hear the slow, deep breathing of the travelers, a collective rhythm of rest. The air gets cooler, perfect for sleeping, and you pull the heavy wool blanket up to your chin, feeling snug and protected under the vast dome of the universe. The Silk Road is a ribbon of connection, but tonight it is a ribbon of sleep. Imagine the caravan moving in your dreams, a slow, silent procession of beauty walking through the starlight, carrying the sense of the world to your doorstep. The smell of the dried herbs, the lavender, the saffron, the wild onion of the tulip, all blend together into a perfume of slumber. The camel bells are silent now, or perhaps they are ringing so softly in the distance that they sound like the beating of your own heart. Rest now, traveler. The desert is holding you. The history of the world is watching over you. The flowers are safe, and so are you. Let the image of the golden dunes fade into the blackness of sleep. Let the rhythm of the camel's walk rock you into unconsciousness. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, slow, steady, eternal. You are drifting across the sands of time, weightless and free. The oasis is a place of peace, and you have found it. Drink from the waters of rest. Sleep under the canopy of the ancient stars. The caravan will wait for you. The journey will continue tomorrow. But for now, deep in the heart of the silent desert, surrounded by the sleeping flowers, there is only peace. Deep, dark, ancient peace. Sleep. From the vast and open skies of the Silk Road, where the stars shine with a piercing brightness, we now travel westward and forward in time, leaving the dry heat of the desert for the cool and verdant embrace of medieval Europe, a land of ancient forests and rolling green hills shrouded in mist. We are drifting down toward a stone sanctuary hidden deep within a valley in France, or perhaps England, a place where time seems to stand still and the noise of the outside world is kept at bay by high and protective walls. It is a late afternoon in autumn. The air is crisp and carries the promise of winter, and a gentle, steady rain is falling, a soothing gray rain that washes over the slate roofs and the cobblestone paths with a rhythmic drumming sound that instantly makes you feel cozy and safe. We are entering the cloister, the heart of a medieval monastery, a square garden enclosed on all four sides by covered walkways with arched stone columns. This is the hortus conclusus, the enclosed garden, a physical representation of paradise on earth, designed not for pleasure, but for contemplation and healing. Walk with me now under the shelter of the stone arches, listening to the soft patter of the rain falling on the leaves in the center of the garden, a sound that is consistent and hypnotic, like a natural white noise that drowns out every worry you have ever known. The air here is heavy with moisture and trapped fragrances, for the high walls hold the scents of the plants, allowing them to mingle and deepen in the damp atmosphere. As you look out into the rain-soaked garden, you see rows of neatly arranged beds, bordered by woven willow branches, where the monks grow the herbs and flowers that serve as the pharmacy for the surrounding villages. The most dominant scent that reaches you is the clean, sharp aroma of lavender, rows of gray-green bushes that are bowed down under the weight of the raindrops, releasing their essential oils into the mist. Lavender is the herb of peace, the herb of washing, used to scent the linens and to calm the mind. And as you breathe in its camphor-like fragrance, you can feel a wave of relaxation washing over your forehead and your temples, soothing away the tension of the day. Next to the lavender grows the rosemary, the herb of remembrance, its woody stems standing strong against the wind, its needle-like leaves glistening with water, offering a piney, resinous smell that grounds you to the earth. You can see a figure moving slowly among the beds, a monk in a rough wool habit of deep brown, his hood pulled up against the drizzle, his movements slow and deliberate as he tends to the plants. He is not rushing to get out of the rain, for he understands that the rain is a gift, a necessary part of the cycle of life. Watch as he gently touches a stalk of sage, his hands weathered and kind, practicing a silent devotion to the earth. There is no sound of speech here, for this is a place of silence, a place where words are unnecessary, and the only language is the language of nature. The rain intensifies slightly, turning from a mist into a steady shower, and the sound on the tiled roof of the walkway becomes a deeper hum, a protective sound that reinforces the feeling of being sheltered.
You are dry and warm here under the arches, wrapped in an imaginary cloak of heavy wool that keeps the chill at bay, watching the rain nourish the garden. In the corner of the plot, you see the apothecary rose, the Rosa gallica, an ancient variety that blooms with a deep crimson color and possesses a scent far stronger and spicier than modern roses. Even though the blooms are fading now with the season, the memory of their scent lingers in the rose hips that swell on the branches, red and round and full of medicine. The monks use these petals to make syrups and oils, capturing the summer sun to heal the winter sickness. And the thought of this simple, natural medicine brings a sense of comfort to your heart, a reminder that the earth provides what we need. Near the center of the garden stands a stone fountain, weathered by centuries of water, where a small stream trickles from a lion's mouth into a circular basin. The sound of the water falling into water mixes with the sound of the rain, creating a symphony of liquidity that is incredibly sleep-inducing. Drip, drop, splash, flow. The rhythm is endless, a perpetual motion that has continued for hundreds of years in this very spot. You can imagine sitting on a stone bench under the arcade, leaning your back against the solid, cold wall, feeling the contrast between the cool stone and the warmth of your own body. The gray light of the rainy afternoon is soft and diffused, casting no harsh shadows, making everything look like a painting done in watercolors. The greens of the herbs are vibrant and deep, the gray of the stone is calming and neutral, and the brown of the soil is rich and dark. It is a visual palette of rest. Breathe in again, deeper this time, catching the scent of lemon balm and chamomile, the herbs of sleep, growing low to the ground near the wet stones. The chamomile releases a scent like apples and straw,
a sweet and humble fragrance that whispers of warm tea and soft beds. The monk pauses in his work and looks up at the sky, his face peaceful and unhurried, accepting the weather, accepting the passing of time. And in his stillness, you find your own stillness. There is no urgency in this garden. The plants grow at their own pace, the rain falls when it falls, and the seasons turn slowly. The monastery walls act as a barrier to the chaos of history, shutting out wars and politics and commerce, preserving a bubble of silence where the soul can rest. You feel a heavy drowsiness settling into your limbs, a feeling like sinking into a feather bed. The damp air is rich with oxygen, feeding your body, slowing your heart rate. You are far away from the screens and the lights of the modern age, transported back to a time when the rhythm of life was dictated by the rising and setting of the sun and the ringing of the chapel bells. Speaking of bells, you hear it now. A deep, resonant tolling from the bell tower high above, muffled slightly by the rain. Bong, bong, bong. It is the call to vespers, the evening prayer. The monk gathers his basket of cut herbs, bows his head once to the garden, and moves silently through a wooden door, leaving you alone with the flowers and the rain. The solitude is not lonely, it is expansive and relieving. You are the guardian of the garden now, the silent observer of the falling rain.
The light begins to fade as the afternoon gives way to the early evening of autumn. The gray sky turning a shade darker, the shadows in the corners of the cloister deepening. The scent of the wet earth becomes stronger, that primal smell of petrichor that signals safety and home. You can imagine the smell of beeswax candles being lit inside the church nearby, mixing with the herbal scents of the garden. The world is closing in, becoming smaller, cozier, more intimate. You are safe within these walls. The stone is strong. The garden is asleep. The plants are drinking the rain, preparing for their winter rest, just as you are preparing for your nightly rest. Let the sound of the rain become the only thing in your mind, a steady, gentle washing away of thoughts. The water flows over the cobblestones, cleansing, cooling, quieting. Imagine the drops sliding down the leaves of the lilies and the ferns, gathering at the tips and falling to the earth. Gravity is pulling everything down, pulling the rain, pulling the leaves, pulling your eyelids, down into the earth, down into the roots, down into sleep. The medieval world was a harsh one, but in this garden there is only gentleness. There is only the care of the monks and the resilience of the flowers. You are part of this timeless circle. The lavender will bloom again. The rain will fall again. Peace is a constant presence here, stored in the stones and the soil. Feel yourself melting into the stone bench, or better yet, imagine yourself lying on a bed of dry straw and soft linens in a cell overlooking this garden, the window open just a crack to let in the cool air and the sound of the rain. The wool blanket is heavy and warm over you. The pillow is soft. The darkness is friendly. You are protected by the sanctuary. The rain continues its lullaby, never wavering, a faithful companion to your slumber. Sleep is coming to you now, drifting in like the mist over the monastery walls. It smells of rosemary and rain. It sounds like water on stone. It feels like peace. Let go of the waking world. Let go of the need to do anything. The monks are praying for the world. The flowers are growing for the world. You do not need to carry the world. Just sleep. Sleep in the cloistered silence. Sleep in the healing rain. Sleep in the ancient walled garden of your dreams. Leaving behind the cloistered walls and the rainy grays of medieval Europe, we now embark on a long journey across the vast and rolling Atlantic Ocean, following the path of the sun as it travels west, flying over the white-capped waves until the water turns to land and the horizon expands into something endless and breathtakingly open. We have arrived in the New World, specifically in the heart of the North American continent, standing on the edge of the Great Plains, long before the noise of engines or the sprawl of cities interrupted the silence. This is a landscape of immense freedom, a place where the earth and the sky meet in a perfect, unbroken line. And as you look out before you, you see not a forest, not a desert, but an ocean of grass. The tall grass prairie stretching out for thousands of miles like a green sea that ripples and waves under the caress of the wind. It is high summer here, the season of abundance, and the prairie is not just green, but alive with a riot of colors, a tapestry woven by nature herself with no gardener but the breeze and the buffalo. The air is warm and smells sweet, filled with the scent of sun-baked earth and crushed grass and the honeyed perfume of a million wildflowers baking in the afternoon heat. Breathe in this air, feeling the vastness of the American frontier filling your lungs, expanding your chest, making you feel lighter and freer than you have ever felt before. The most striking of all the blooms here is the sunflower, the helianthus, standing tall and proud like a sentinel of the plains, growing in wild clusters that tower over the grass, their thick, hairy stems supporting heads the size of dinner plates. These are not the polite flowers of a vase. These are wild giants, their petals a deep, burning yellow that mirrors the sun above, their dark centers packed with seeds that will feed the birds of the coming autumn. Watch how they turn their faces slowly throughout the day, following the path of the light, a silent devotion that connects the soil to the sky. Imagine walking through a grove of these wild sunflowers, the stalks brushing against your shoulders, the golden light filtering through the petals, casting a warm amber glow on your skin.
You are completely hidden here, submerged in the beauty of the wild, safe in the embrace of the tall grass. Nearby, growing lower to the ground but with equal beauty, is the echinacea, the purple coneflower, a plant of healing and strength known to the indigenous people of these lands for centuries. Its petals are a soft, dusty violet, drooping slightly downward as if relaxed, surrounding a spiky, copper-colored cone in the center that glows in the sunlight. The bees and the butterflies love this flower, and the air is filled with the gentle, rhythmic buzzing of their wings, a low-frequency hum that is the very sound of summer sleepiness. You can see a monarch butterfly, its wings a stained glass of orange and black, landing softly on the cone of a purple flower, drinking in the nectar, undisturbed and peaceful. The prairie is a place of movement, a constant, gentle choreography of wind and grass. Close your eyes and listen to the sound of the wind, the shh of the breeze moving through the blue stem and the switchgrass, a sound that mimics the ocean, a white noise that wraps around you and drowns out every other thought. It is a lullaby sung by the earth itself, rocking the wildflowers and rocking you. In the distance, you might see the dark, shaggy shapes of a herd of bison grazing slowly, their massive heads bowed to the sweetgrass, moving with a calm lethargy that speaks of a world without hurry. They are the kings of this domain, and their presence adds a deep, grounding weight to the landscape. The sky above is a shade of blue so deep and clear it looks like painted porcelain, dotted with puffy white clouds that drift lazily from west to east, casting moving shadows that race across the flowered fields below. As the afternoon begins to wane, the light starts to change, transforming the prairie into a realm of gold. This is the golden hour, But on the frontier, it feels like it lasts forever. The sun hanging low on the horizon, bathing the sunflowers in a light that makes them glow from within. The violet of the echinacea deepens, the green of the grass turns to olive and bronze, and the heat of the day begins to lift, replaced by a cooling breeze that rises from the creeks and the riverbeds. You find a spot to lie down on a soft patch of buffalo grass, the earth beneath you warm and solid, holding you up with the strength of the continent. Lying on your back, you look up at the vast dome of the sky, feeling incredibly small, but also incredibly safe, a speck of consciousness in a universe of peace. The meadowlarks are singing their evening songs, fluting melodic calls that pierce the air with pure joy, signaling the end of the day. The wildflowers are preparing for the night, the sunflowers bowing their heads slightly as the sun disappears below the rim of the earth. The sunset on the prairie is a masterpiece of nature, a slow explosion of color that spreads across the entire western sky, painting the clouds in shades of apricot, rose, lavender, and finally a deep bruising indigo. The transition from day to night is slow and seamless, a gentle fading of the light that invites your eyes to close.
The air becomes cooler, crisp and clean, carrying the scent of sagebrush and damp soil, a smell that is intrinsically American, wild and pure. As the first stars begin to appear, pinpricks of light in the deepening blue, you feel a profound sense of connection to the land, to the history of this place, before fences, before roads, before noise. You are alone in the best possible way, surrounded by the silent company of the flowers. The purple cone flowers are now dark silhouettes against the grass. The sunflowers are sleeping giants, and the whole world seems to be holding its breath. The crickets begin their nightly chorus, a rhythmic chirping that pulses like a heartbeat, steady and reliable, a sound that has lulled travelers to sleep on these plains for thousands of years. You can imagine a small campfire flickering nearby, though you do not need it for warmth, just for the comfort of its light, the soft crackle of the wood joining the song of the crickets. The flames dance and cast soft, flickering shadows on the wildflowers, making them seem to dance in the dark. You are settling down into the earth, your body heavy and relaxed, your breathing matching the slow rhythm of the wind in the grass. The vastness of the prairie is no longer overwhelming. It is a blanket of darkness that covers you, tucking you in. There are no walls here to hem you in, only the horizon of sleep, which stretches out infinitely in all directions. You are free to drift, free to float across the sea of grass in your dreams. The bison are sleeping, the birds are sleeping, the butterflies are sleeping under the leaves. The energy of the wild has calmed down into a deep, resonant stillness. You feel the rotation of the earth, the slow march of the stars overhead, the great wheel of the galaxy turning in silence. This is the true American dream, a dream of untouched nature, of a land that is wild and whole. The scent of the cooling earth rises up to meet you, grounding you, pulling you down into a deep and restorative slumber. The wildflowers are the guardians of your sleep, standing watch in the dark, their roots deep in the soil, their faces ready for the morning sun. But for now, they rest, and you rest with them. The wind whispers one last time through the tall grass, a final hush that settles deep in your mind. The colors of the day have faded into the velvet of the night. The golden yellow, the dusty purple, the bright green, all have dissolved into the peaceful gray and black of sleep. You are safe on the frontier of dreams. You are held by the wild heart of the world.
Let the image of the endless horizon soothe you. Let the song of the crickets guide you. Let the peace of the wildflowers fill you. Deep, deep into the prairie night, drifting, sinking, sleeping. The new world is a world of peace. The wild is a place of rest. Sleep now, under the vast and starry sky. Sleep.
From the wild and windswept prairies of the American frontier, we now let the currents of history carry us back across the Atlantic Ocean, returning to the old world, but arriving in a place where the wildness of nature has been tamed and cultivated into a masterpiece of order and beauty. We are landing gently in the 17th century, in the heart of the Dutch Golden Age, finding ourselves standing on the cobblestone streets of Amsterdam, a city built upon the water, a city of quiet canals and tall brick houses that reflect their gabled roofs in the glass-like surface of the liquid streets. It is early morning in Holland, and a soft, cool mist hangs over the canals, muffling the sounds of the waking city, creating a cocoon of silence that feels intimate and safe. The air here smells of damp bricks and brackish water, and the faint, clean scent of rain that has just passed, leaving the world washed and renewed. We are here to witness a moment in time when the human heart fell deeply and irrevocably in love with a single flower, a time known as tulip mania. But we are not here for the noise of the market or the clinking of coins. We are here for the quiet obsession with beauty, the collective dream that saw a universe in a single petal. Imagine walking slowly along the edge of the Hedengracht Canal, your footsteps echoing softly on the stones, passing by the grand mansions of the merchants who have traveled the world and brought back this treasure from the East. The tulip is no longer a wildflower of the mountains. It has become a jewel, a living ruby or amethyst that is prized above gold itself. In the walled gardens behind these tall houses, sheltered from the wind, the tulips are blooming in solitary splendor. Picture a garden that is small and perfectly manicured, with paths of crushed white shells that crunch softly underfoot, leading to a bed of dark, rich soil where the tulips stand like royalty. These are not the simple, solid-colored tulips of today. These are the broken tulips, flowers that have been painted by nature with intricate streaks and flames of contrasting color. The most famous of them all, the Semper Augustus, stands before you now, a vision of red and white. Imagine leaning in close to examine it, seeing the way the crimson stripes feather and flare against the creamy white background, looking like flames frozen in porcelain. The petals are smooth and cool to the touch, possessing a satin finish that catches the pale morning light, glowing with an inner radiance that seems almost magical. It is easy to understand why a person would trade their fortune for this bulb, for in this single flower there is a perfection that transcends the mundane world, a fleeting moment of absolute flawlessness. The Dutch people of this age, with their love for detail and light, saw the tulip as a testament to the divine, a painting made by God's own hand. You can imagine a quiet room inside one of the canal houses, a room with a black and white checkered floor and a high window that lets in a stream of northern light, the kind of light captured by Vermeer. On a heavy oak table, covered by a Persian rug, sits a blue and white Delft vase, and inside the vase is one single tulip.
The room is silent. The only sound is the ticking of a grandfather clock in the hallway, a slow and rhythmic tock, tock, tock that measures the passing of peace. A merchant sits in a chair, simply staring at the flower, lost in a meditative trance, tracing the lines of the petals with his eyes, finding a deep sense of calm in the complexity of the bloom. This obsession is not a madness, it is a deep appreciation, a slowing down of life to simply look, to really look at something until you understand its soul.
The city of Amsterdam itself seems to be designed for this kind of quiet reflection, with its concentric rings of canals that wrap around the center like the layers of a bulb. You are stepping onto a small wooden barge now, a flat-bottomed boat that is used to transport flowers from the fields to the city. The boatman pushes off from the dock with a long pole, and you drift silently into the center of the canal, floating on the dark, still water. The movement is barely perceptible, just a gentle gliding sensation that makes you feel weightless. As you drift past the houses, you see the reflections of the buildings in the water, upside down and wavering slightly, a dream world that mirrors reality but softens its edges. The bridges arch over the water like stone rainbows, and as you pass underneath them, the shadows deepen and the sound of the city fades even further. You are moving through a gallery of living art where every window box and every garden plot is a celebration of the tulip. There are flowers of deep purple that look almost black in the shadows, flowers of bright yellow with streaks of blood red, flowers of soft pink that fade to white at the edges. They are standing tall on their sturdy green stems, nodding gently as the boat creates a small wake. The atmosphere is one of profound prosperity and peace, a society that has decided that beauty is a necessity of life. The mist begins to lift, revealing a pale blue sky with soft white clouds that look like they have been painted with a brush, clouds that drift as slowly as your boat. You feel a connection to the bulb lying dormant in the earth, the promise of life that waits through the cold winter to burst forth in the spring. This cycle of waiting and blooming is the rhythm of nature, and it is the rhythm of your own breath. In and out, dormancy and bloom, waking and sleeping. The boat gently bumps against the side of the canal, a soft thud that signals a moment of rest. You are safe here in this golden age, protected by the water and the walls, surrounded by the most beautiful flowers the world has ever seen. The frantic energy of the world has no place here, only the silent appreciation of color and form. You imagine holding a tulip bulb in your hand, feeling its weight, its smoothness, its dry, papery skin. It feels like a small, solid object of potential, a sleeping dream wrapped in layers of protection. You too are like this bulb, wrapped in the layers of your blankets, warm and protected, holding your dreams inside, ready to rest and recharge. The sun is setting now over Amsterdam, casting a golden light that turns the brick buildings into glowing embers and makes the water of the canals shine like molten copper. The tulips are closing their petals for the night, folding themselves up to keep warm, hiding their intricate stripes and colors until the morning. The city is quieting down. The shutters are being closed. The candles are being lit in the windows, casting small, flickering lights that reflect in the water like stars. You are drifting further and further away from the waking world, carried on the slow, dark current of the canal. The water is deep and calm, absorbing all sound, all worry. You are passing into the realm of history, becoming a ghost in the golden age, a silent observer of the beauty that once captivated the world. The image of the striped tulip, the red and the white, remains burned into your mind's eye, a symbol of perfect harmony. The boat rocks gently, back and forth, a cradle on the water. You are ready to sleep now. The beauty of the flower has filled you up, satisfied your soul, and left you with a deep feeling of discontentment. The canals of Amsterdam are the veins of the city, and they are flowing slowly, slowing your pulse, slowing your thoughts. There is nothing left to desire, nothing left to buy, nothing left to do. The flower is enough. The moment is enough. The peace is enough. Let the darkness of the 17th century night wrap around you like a velvet cloak. Let the silence of the water fill your ears. Let the memory of the golden age lull you into a golden sleep. You are drifting, you are floating, you are sleeping. Down the quiet canal, under the stone bridges, past the sleeping flowers, into the deep, quiet, dreamless night of the Netherlands. Sleep, sleep, sleep.
From the quiet canals of the Dutch Golden Age, we drift forward through the mists of time, crossing the narrow channel of water to arrive on the shores of 19th century England, entering the Victorian era, a time of lace and velvet, of high collars and hushed voices, where emotions run deep beneath a surface of perfect composure. We find ourselves in a world where the noise of the Industrial Revolution is kept at bay by heavy curtains and thick brick walls, retreating into the sanctuary of the parlor, a room filled with the scent of potpourri and old paper, and the soft amber glow of gaslight. It is a rainy afternoon in London, or perhaps a quiet country estate in the rolling green hills, and the world outside is wrapped in a thick, comforting fog that muffles the sound of carriage wheels on the cobblestones, turning the city into a ghost of itself. In this era of strict social rules and repressed feelings, words are often too loud, too direct, too dangerous to speak aloud, and so the heart has found a different way to speak, a silent language composed entirely of petals and stems and leaves. This is the age of floriography, the language of flowers, a secret code known only to lovers and dreamers, where a single bloom can convey a message that would take 1,000 words to write. Imagine you are sitting in a high-backed velvet chair near a fireplace where the embers are glowing soft and red, radiating a gentle warmth that makes you feel sleepy and snug. On the small mahogany table beside you lies a book bound in green leather with gold lettering, a dictionary of flowers that holds the key to every secret emotion. You watch as a young woman, dressed in a gown of soft silk that rustles like the wind in the leaves, stands by a large window overlooking a garden, composing a bouquet, a tussy-mussy, small enough to be held in one hand, but heavy with meaning. She moves with a slow, deliberate grace, her fingers selecting each flower with the precision of a poet choosing a word. First, she chooses a red rosebud, not fully open, symbolizing a love that is young and innocent, waiting to bloom, and she places it in the center of the arrangement. The scent of the rose is rich and powdery, a classic fragrance that instantly brings a sense of nostalgia and comfort, like a memory of a summer long gone. Next, she reaches for a sprig of fern, its green fronds curling delicately, representing sincerity and magic, a promise that her feelings are true and hidden from the eyes of the world. The fern smells of the damp forest floor, earthy and grounding, balancing the sweetness of the rose. Watch her hands as she works, the movements hypnotic and rhythmic, tying the stems together with a ribbon of pale blue satin. The sound of the fabric sliding against itself is a soft whisper of friction. Shh, shh. She adds a cluster of blue violets, small and shy, hiding their faces behind heart-shaped leaves, the symbol of modesty and faithfulness. The violets have a faint, sweet scent that is there one moment and gone the next, teasing the senses, inviting you to lean in closer, to breathe deeper. This bouquet is not just a decoration, it is a letter, a confession,
a secret whispered from one soul to another without a sound ever breaking the silence of the room. The Victorian world is a world of textures, and you can feel them all around you in your imagination. The roughness of the wool rug beneath your feet, the smoothness of the porcelain teacup in your hand, the scratchy comfort of the lace doily on the table. Everything is designed to soften the edges of life, to create a cocoon of domestic peace. Now imagine this small bouquet being delivered, carried by a messenger through the foggy streets, arriving at the door of the intended recipient. The moment of receiving the flowers is a moment of suspended time, a pause in the day where the heart beats a little slower in anticipation. The recipient takes the flowers, feeling the cool dampness of the petals, and retreats to a quiet corner to decipher the message. They open their own book, tracing the definitions with a finger, translating the code. Red rose for love, fern for sincerity, violet for faithfulness. A smile touches their lips, a private moment of joy that belongs only to them. This act of decoding is a slow and meditative process, like solving a gentle puzzle, requiring patience and focus that pushes away all the other worries of the world. The room therein is filled with clocks, big grandfather clocks and small mantle clocks, all ticking in a steady, synchronized rhythm, tick-tock, tick-tock, a sound that mimics the beating of a calm heart, a sound that measures out the slow, lazy afternoon. You can smell the beeswax used to polish the wood, a warm and honeyed scent that mixes with the floral perfume of the bouquet. In this world, there is no instant communication, no rushing to reply, only the slow unfolding of feelings, like the slow unfolding of a bloom. The flowers in the bouquet will eventually fade, but their meaning is preserved, for the Victorians were masters of memory. Imagine the recipient taking the most special flower, perhaps a sprig of rosemary for remembrance or a white lily for purity, and placing it carefully between the pages of a heavy book, pressing it flat to keep it forever. You can see the dust motes dancing in the shaft of light that cuts through the velvet curtains, swirling slowly in the air, suspended in time. These dust motes are like the seconds of your life, drifting aimlessly, catching the light, beautiful and weightless. The atmosphere is thick with nostalgia, a longing for a time when things were slower, quieter, and more mysterious. You feel a heaviness in your eyelids, a desire to close them and retreat into this world of secrets. The language of flowers is a lullaby for the mind, telling you that you don't need to speak to be understood, that silence is beautiful, that nature has a voice if you only listen.
The Victorian garden outside the window is beginning to darken as the evening approaches, the shadows lengthening across the lawn, the colors of the flowers turning to shades of gray and silver in the twilight. The gas lamps in the street are being lit one by one, popping into existence like small warm stars in the fog. You are safe inside, protected by the heavy drapes, protected by the customs of the past. There is a sense of deep privacy here, a feeling that you are hidden away from the world, tucked into a secret compartment of history. The scent of lavender sachets in the drawers, the smell of old leather-bound books, the faint aroma of vanilla from the kitchen, all these scents combine to create a perfume of sleep. You are the recipient of the bouquet now, and the message it brings is one of rest. The flowers are telling you to let go, to be modest in your thoughts, to be faithful to your need for sleep. The red rose of the day is closing, the blue violet of the night is opening, the fern of dreams is uncurling. You are sinking deeper into the velvet chair, which transforms into your own bed, soft and supportive. The ribbon of the bouquet is untied, releasing the tension, letting everything fall loose and relaxed. The secrets have been whispered, the message has been received,
and now there is only the quiet satisfaction of being known and being loved. The Victorian era fades slowly, like a photograph turning sepia, the edges blurring, the details softening. The ticking of the clock slows down, becoming the rhythm of your breathing, in and out, tick and talk. The fog wraps around the house, a blanket of white silence. You are drifting in the garden of memory, where the flowers never die, where they only dry and preserve their scent forever. Sleep now, surrounded by the whispered secrets of the past. Sleep with the knowledge that you are safe in the sanctuary of the night. The flowers are watching. The silence is holding you. The past is a pillow for your head. Drift away on the scent of the rose. Drift away on the promise of the violet. Deep, deep into the quiet, secret, velvet dark of sleep.
Leaving behind the velvet curtains and the whispered secrets of the Victorian parlors, we now step into the light, crossing the English Channel to the lush and verdant countryside of France, traveling to a small village in Normandy called Giverny, where the sun seems to shine with a particular brilliance, a quality of light that has captivated artists and dreamers for generations. We are entering the world of Claude Monet, the father of Impressionism, a man who built a garden not just to grow flowers, but to paint them, creating a living masterpiece that changes with the passing of every hour. It is a warm, lazy afternoon in late summer. The air is thick with the buzzing of bees and the heavy, sweet scent of pollen, and the world feels soft, blurred at the edges like a watercolor painting that hasn't quite dried. You are walking down a narrow dirt path, the gravel crunching softly beneath your feet, approaching the famous pink stucco house with its green shutters. But your destination is the garden that stretches out before it, a riot of color that defies the rigid rules of order. This is the Clos Normand, the flower garden, where thousands of blooms compete for the sun, growing in wild, joyful abundance. Imagine walking through rows of nasturtiums that spill over the path like a river of orange and yellow fire, their round leaves acting like miniature umbrellas for the beetles that hide underneath. Above you, climbing roses cling to metal arches, creating a tunnel of fragrance, dropping soft pink petals that brush against your cheek as you pass, a gentle touch that feels like a blessing. The air smells of sun-warmed earth and spicy carnations, and the faint, sugary aroma of sweet peas. Monet did not like organized, manicured gardens. He liked the chaos of nature, the way colors blended into one another. And as you look out over the sea of petals, your eyes are unable to focus on just one thing. Instead, you take in the whole impression, a vibrating field of light and hue that relaxes the mind by overwhelming the senses with beauty. You continue walking, crossing the road and entering the water garden, a place of even deeper tranquility, a world removed from the rest of the earth. Here, the atmosphere changes, becoming cooler, damper, more reflective. You find yourself standing at the edge of the famous pond, a sheet of glassy water that mirrors the sky and the willows so perfectly that it is hard to tell where the reality ends and the reflection begins. The weeping willows drape their long, slender branches into the water, their leaves trailing like fingers across the surface, creating tiny ripples that distort the reflection of the clouds. Standing on the bank is an old man with a long white beard and a wide-brimmed straw hat, standing before a large canvas on an easel.
It is Monet himself, the master of light, working in silence, his eyes darting between the water and the paint, his hand moving with a rhythmic, confident grace. He is not trying to paint the flower exactly as a camera would see it. He is painting the light. He is painting the feeling of the flower, the way it shimmers in the atmosphere. Watch him as he dips his brush into a mound of violet and blue, blending them together to capture the shadow of a cloud passing over the pond. There is a hypnotic rhythm to his work, Dab, dab, stroke, dab, a rhythm that matches the beating of your heart. You step onto the Japanese bridge, the wooden structure painted a soft green that blends seamlessly with the foliage, and you look down into the water. This is the home of the nymphaeas, the water lilies, the queens of this garden. They float on the surface like celestial islands, their round, flat pads creating a green mosaic on the dark water. The flowers themselves are open wide to the afternoon sun, cups of pure light in shades of pale pink, creamy white, and deep sunset yellow. They look weightless, suspended between the water and the air, drifting slowly with the imperceptible current. Monet famously said that he planted these flowers for the sole purpose of feasting his eyes, and now you are feasting yours, drinking in the serenity of the scene. The water lilies are not just plants, they are resting places for the soul, invitations to float, to let go of the heavy anchor of the body and drift. The light in the garden is constantly changing, shifting from the bright, flat light of midday to the golden, slanted light of the late afternoon. As the sun begins to lower, the colors on the pond deepen, the water turning from a bright mirror into a pool of mysterious depths, the shadows of the willows stretching longer and darker. You can feel the warmth of the sun on your back, a gentle, comforting heat that penetrates your muscles and makes you feel heavy and loose. The soundscape of Giverny is a lullaby of nature, the chirping of crickets hidden in the tall grass, the occasional splash of a frog jumping from a lily pad into the water, the rustling of the bamboo grove in the breeze. It is a white noise of life that creates a bubble of silence around you. You lean against the railing of the bridge, feeling the smooth wood under your hands, watching the play of light on the water. This is the impressionist dream, a state of mind where the sharp edges of the world are softened, where clarity is replaced by feeling, where the focus is not on the details, but on the atmosphere. You feel yourself blurring, your thoughts losing their sharp definitions, melting into the colors of the garden. You are becoming part of the painting, a stroke of color on the canvas of the evening. Monet pauses in his work, wiping his brush on a rag, looking out at the pond with a look of deep peace. He knows that the light is fading, that the moment is passing, but he has captured it, just as you are capturing this feeling of relaxation to take with you into sleep. The air begins to cool as the evening mist rises from the Seine River nearby, drifting into the garden, wrapping the flowers in a soft gray gauze.
The water lilies begin to close, folding their petals inward, protecting their golden centers for the night. It is a slow, graceful movement, a biological signal that the time for activity is over and the time for rest has begun. You follow their lead, letting your own eyes close, letting your own mind fold inward. The garden is losing its vibrant colors now, turning into a symphony of blues and grays and purples. The pink of the roses becomes a dusty mauve, the green of the willows becomes a deep charcoal, and the white of the lilies becomes a ghostly silver under the rising moon. You imagine lying down in a small boat moored at the edge of the pond, the bottom lined with soft cushions and blankets. You step in, the boat rocking gently under your weight, and you lie back, looking up at the sky where the first stars are beginning to twinkle. The water supports you, holding you up, rocking you with the same gentle motion that moves the lilies. You are floating in Monet's garden, floating in the middle of a masterpiece. The smell of the damp earth and the cooling water is fresh and soothing. The silence is profound, broken only by the soft breathing of the wind in the trees. You are safe here, protected by the art, protected by the beauty. The world outside the garden walls does not exist. There is no traffic, no news, no ticking clocks, only the eternal cycle of the sun and the moon and the flowers. You drift deeper into the center of the pond, surrounded by the sleeping lilies. The colors of the painting swirl behind your closed eyelids, soft patches of pink and blue and green, moving slowly, rearranging themselves into dreams. The Impressionists believe that the world is not what we see, but how we see it. And tonight, you see only peace. Tonight, you see only rest. The brush strokes of the day have been laid down. The canvas is complete. It is time to put down the brush, time to step back, time to rest your eyes. The spirit of the garden wraps around you like a soft green blanket. The water is still. The flowers are asleep. The artist has gone home. And you are drifting, drifting, drifting into the soft, blurred, beautiful world of the Impressionist dream, into the garden of sleep, into the night.
Leaving behind the Impressionist dreams of France and the water lilies of Giverny, we now turn our faces westward once more, crossing the vast and rolling Atlantic Ocean to return home to the shores of the United States, flying over the patchwork fields of the East Coast until we see the gleaming white marble monuments of Washington, D.C., rising from the mist of the Potomac River. We are arriving not in a place of noise or debate, but in a sanctuary of silence nestled at the very heart of American history, stepping softly onto the manicured lawns of the White House, specifically into the embrace of the Rose Garden. It is the golden hour of early evening, that magical time when the sun sits low behind the Washington Monument, casting long, dignified shadows across the South Lawn, and the air is filled with a hush that feels profound and respectful. This garden, located just outside the Oval Office, is perhaps the most famous patch of soil in America. Yet tonight it is not a stage for speeches or ceremonies, but a private refuge where the weight of the world is left at the gate. As you walk along the limestone paths, you can feel the history vibrating in the ground beneath your feet, a history of presidents and first ladies who have walked here to find a moment of peace amidst the storms of leadership. The garden is enclosed by the white colonnade of the West Wing and the residence, creating a courtyard that feels safe, protected, and intimately quiet. The star of this sanctuary is, of course, the rose, the flower that Americans have loved for generations, the flower that was signed into law as the national floral emblem of the United States in a moment of unity and appreciation for beauty. Look around you now and see the roses in their hundreds, standing tall and regal in their beds, their petals unfurling in a display of colors that represent the spirit of the nation. There are roses of deep velvet red, symbolizing courage and love, their color so intense it seems to absorb the fading light of the day. There are roses of pure snowy white, representing honor and peace, glowing softly against the dark green foliage like small moons. There are roses of soft pink and coral and yellow, each one a testament to the diversity and vibrancy of the land. Breathe in deeply, for the scent of this garden is legendary, a complex perfume of spice and fruit and honey that hangs heavy in the humid air of the capital. It is a scent that triggers memories of grandmother's gardens, of weddings, of homecomings, a scent that is woven into the fabric of the American memory. Imagine for a moment that you are standing beside President John F. Kennedy in the early 1960s, watching as he oversees the redesign of this garden, wanting to create a space that would rival the great gardens of Europe, a place where the beauty of nature could stand beside the power of the state. He envisioned a space of order and serenity, and as you look at the neat rows of boxwood hedges and the crabapple trees that anchor the corners, you can feel the sense of calm structure that defines this space. The crabapple trees are beautiful, their branches offering shade and their blossoms adding a touch of wildness to the formal design. You can imagine the sound of the gardener's shears in the early morning, snip, snip,
snip, a rhythmic sound of care and cultivation that has continued for over a century. From the time of Ellen Wilson, who first planted these roses, to the present day, this soil has been tended with love, a constant reminder that even in the highest offices of power, we are still connected to the earth, still dependent on the sun and the rain. The rose is a symbol of resilience, a flower that protects itself with thorns but offers the world unparalleled beauty, much like the nation itself. As you walk slowly past the beds, you reach out and gently touch the petal of an American beauty rose, feeling its coolness, its silkiness, a tactile connection to the living heart of the garden. The noise of the city, the traffic on Constitution Avenue, the sirens in the distance, all of it fades away completely, blocked out by the thick hedges and the invisible barrier of peace that surrounds this place. You are alone here, the only guest of the house, free to wander and to rest. The white columns of the colonnade gleam in the twilight, standing like silent sentinels, watching over the sleeping flowers. There is a bench made of teak wood tucked away in a quiet corner, and you sit down, leaning back and looking up at the sky. The first star, perhaps Venus, is twinkling brightly above the white roof of the executive mansion. It is a moment of deep patriotism, not the loud kind with flags and bands, but the quiet kind, the love for the land, for the soil, for the beauty that grows from it. You think about the rose as a symbol of life and death, of time passing, of the seasons turning. Presidents come and go, eras rise and fall, but the roses return every spring, faithful and true. This continuity brings a sense of stability to your mind, a feeling that everything is going to be all right, that the foundations are strong. The air is cooling down rapidly now, the humidity lifting, replaced by a fresh breeze coming off the river. You can smell the damp grass, the scent of the boxwood, and the lingering sweetness of the roses. It is a heavy, sedative blend of aromas that makes your eyelids feel heavy. You can imagine the lights in the White House turning off one by one, the great house settling down for the night.
The Secret Service agents are standing their posts in the shadows, silent and vigilant, ensuring that nothing disturbs the peace of the garden. You feel incredibly safe, protected by the history, by the walls, by the very atmosphere of the place. The stress of your own life feels very far away, insignificant in the face of this enduring beauty. The Rose Garden is a place to lay down your burdens, just as so many leaders have done before you. You are part of that lineage now, a seeker of peace in a garden of power. The colors of the roses are fading into the gray of the evening, the red turning to black, the white turning to silver. The garden is preparing to sleep. The bees have gone back to their hives, the birds have returned to their nests in the magnolia trees on the lawn. Silence reigns supreme, a deep, resonant American silence. You feel your breathing slow down, matching the slow pulse of the sleeping capital. The image of the rose, perfect and centered, remains in your mind, a mandala of petals leading you inward to your own center of calm. You are drifting away from the visual world, sinking into the feeling of the garden. The grass is soft beneath your feet. The bench is solid beneath your back. The air is kind to your skin. You are home. You are safe. The Rose Garden is the nation's bedroom tonight, and you are its guest. Let the scent of the roses wrap you in a blanket of comfort. Let the white columns stand guard over your dreams. Let the history of this place whisper stories of hope and resilience into your ear. You are drifting, floating, sinking, past the fountains, past the hedges, past the thorns, into the soft, sweet center of the rose, into the deep, restful sleep of the night.
The stars and stripes may fly above the roof, but down here there are only flowers and shadows and peace. Sleep now in the garden of the presidents. Sleep now in the heart of the rose. Sleep.
From the structured beauty of the rose garden and the manicured lawns of the capital, we now shift our gaze inward and downward, zooming in from the grand history of nations to the microscopic history of life itself, entering a world that exists right under our noses, yet remains largely unseen, a world of silent signals and ancient pacts that keeps the planet turning while we dream. We are stepping away from the human timeline and entering the timeless rhythm of nature, specifically focusing on the silent symphony of pollination, a dance that has been performed since the dawn of the first bloom, a process that is as scientific as it is magical. Imagine for a moment that you can see the world not with your eyes, but with a sense of pure connection, seeing the invisible threads that tie every living thing together in a web of dependence and grace. It is nightfall now, and the frantic energy of the day has dissipated. The sun has dipped below the horizon, and the great workers of the daylight, the honeybees and the bumblebees, have returned to their hives. Picture the bees entering their hexagonal cells, their wings tired from miles of flight, their fuzzy bodies dusted with the gold of the sun, settling down into a collective hum of rest, a vibration that warms the hive and signals that the work of the day is done. But the work of the flowers is never truly finished, for as the day shift ends, the night shift begins, a slower, quieter, more mysterious performance that takes place under the light of the moon. The air around you is cooling, and with the drop in temperature comes a shift in the chemistry of the garden, for many flowers have waited all day for this exact moment to release their most potent perfumes. The heat of the sun evaporates scent quickly, but the cool, heavy air of the night holds it close to the ground, creating a blanket of fragrance that wraps around the world. You can smell the jasmine now, sweet and intoxicating, and the moonflower, which unfurls its large white trumpet only when the stars appear, releasing a scent of lemon and vanilla that acts as a beacon in the dark. This is not just a smell, it is a language, a chemical call sent out into the darkness to invite the creatures of the night. Enter the moths, the silent ghosts of the garden, specifically the sphinx moth, with its wings like soft gray velvet and its large dark eyes that reflect the moonlight. Watch as it hovers before a pale flower, its wings beating so fast they become a blur, yet the creature itself seems suspended in the air, perfectly still. It uncoils its long proboscis, a slender straw designed by millions of years of evolution to fit perfectly into the deep nectar tube of the flower, a lock and key mechanism that is one of nature's most beautiful secrets.
As the moth drinks, it brushes against the anthers of the flower, the part that holds the pollen, and in this gentle collision, a transfer takes place. Thousands of microscopic grains of pollen, like golden dust, cling to the fur of the moth's chest, a precious cargo of life that it will carry to the next flower. This is the moment of connection, the silent symphony where the masculine and the feminine meet, where the potential becomes the actual, where the future of the forest and the meadow is secured. It is a biological act, yes, but it feels like a kiss, a touch of hope passed from one plant to another in the privacy of the night. You are watching this from a place of deep relaxation, understanding that you do not need to do anything for the world to continue, that there are forces at work infinitely more patient and disciplined than we can ever be. The interconnectedness of this system is profound, for without the moth, the flower would not seed, without the seed, the fruit would not grow, and without the fruit, the birds and the animals, and eventually we ourselves, would not exist. We are all part of this circle, all held in the hands of the flower.
As you drift deeper into this thought, consider the science of the plant itself during the night. In the day, the plants breathe in carbon dioxide and give us oxygen, a gift of breath. But at night, the process shifts and plants respire much like we do, taking in oxygen and breaking down the sugars they made during the sunlit hours to fuel their growth. It is a time of repair, a time of building, a time of strengthening roots and extending stems. Imagine the cellular division happening in the silence, one cell becoming two, two becoming four, the plant stretching imperceptibly upward toward the stars. The roots, deep in the cool soil, are drinking water, absorbing the minerals of the earth, pulling them up through the veins of the plant in a silent hydraulic lift that defies gravity. You can almost hear the faint murmur of the sap rising, the lifeblood of the green world moving while everything else is still. This is the quiet work that ensures the beauty of the morning. It is a comforting thought to know that while you sleep, the earth is busy taking care of itself, that the flowers are working to ensure there is beauty and food for tomorrow. There is no stress in this work, only a steady, rhythmic purpose. The moth moves to the next flower and the next, a tireless messenger in the dark. The air is still, the wind has died down to a whisper, and the only movement is this delicate dance of survival. You feel a sense of heaviness in your body, a grounding sensation that connects you to the soil and the roots. You are not separate from this system. You are part of it, a living, breathing being that also needs the night for repair and growth. Your body is doing its own silent work right now, your cells regenerating, your mind sorting through the memories of the day, just as the plant sorts through its chemical energy. The parallel between you and the flower is perfect. You both need the light and you both need the dark.
You both need activity, and you both need rest. As you lie there, imagine the pollen grains, those tiny specks of life, traveling through the air, carried by the wind or the wing, finding their way home. It is a journey of faith, a journey of trust. The flower trusts the moth trusts the flower, and you can trust the night. The complexity of this science is dazzling, but tonight it is simple. It is simply the way the world works. It is the heartbeat of the biosphere. The silence of the pollination is not empty. It is full of intention. It is a lullaby of continuity. The white petals of the Nicotiana flower glow in the moonlight, looking like small stars that have fallen to earth. They are open wide, receptive, waiting. The scent of the garden deepens as the night wears on, becoming richer, muskier, more sedative. The chaotic noises of human life, the cars, the phones, the voices, have all faded away, leaving only the pure, clean sound of nature. If you listen closely, you might hear the soft rustle of a beetle moving through the leaf litter, or the gentle hoot of an owl in a distant tree watching over the garden. These are the guardians of the night, the witnesses to the silent symphony. The world is safe in their hands. You can let go of your vigilance. You can let go of your need to control. The flowers have it under control. The insects have it under control. The earth has it under control. The process of pollination is the ultimate promise of the future, a promise that life will go on, that spring will return, that there will always be flowers. This promise allows you to relax completely, to surrender to the pull of sleep. Imagine yourself shrinking down, becoming small enough to curl up inside the cup of a tulip or the bell of a foxglove, surrounded by the soft, cool walls of the petal. It is safe there, sheltered from the wind, hidden from the eyes of the world.
You are enveloped in the scent of the flower, a natural aromatherapy that calms your nervous system and slows your heart rate. The vibration of the bees in the hive is a distant memory, a soft hum that vibrates in your bones. The flutter of the moth's wings is a gentle fan, cooling your brow. The rising of the sap is a cradle, rocking you gently. You are drifting into the microscopic world where everything is slow, where everything is deliberate, where everything is peaceful. The science of nature is a poem, and you are reading it with your eyes closed. The dance of the atoms, the movement of the molecules, the transfer of the pollen, it is all a lullaby. It is all for you. The night is long and filled with magic. The silent symphony plays on, note by note, flower by flower, dream by dream. You are listening to the music of life. You are sleeping in the arms of the earth. Deep, restful, restorative sleep. The work is being done. You can rest. The world turns. The flower blooms. The sleeper dreams. In the quiet, in the dark, in the peace of the silent symphony. Sleep, sleep, sleep.
And now, after traveling through the mists of time and across the vast expanse of the globe, our journey through the history of flowers begins to slow down, the great wheel of history coming to a gentle halt as we return from the ancient forests and the distant deserts to the most important place of all, the here and the now. The quiet sanctuary of your own room and the warm comfort of your own bed. We have witnessed the first white petal unfurling in the Cretaceous dawn. We have drifted down the Nile with the sacred blue lotus. We have walked the hanging gardens of Babylon and sat in the tea houses of Japan. We have followed the camel caravans of the Silk Road and rested in the cloistered gardens of medieval monks. We have roamed the wild American prairies and marveled at the striped tulips of Amsterdam. We have whispered secrets in Victorian parlors and painted with light in Monet's garden. And we have stood in the solemn quiet of the White House rose garden and watched the silent dance of the moths in the moonlight. But now, all those places and all those times are melting together, blending like watercolors on a wet canvas, dissolving into a single, beautiful feeling of peace that resides deep within your own heart. You do not need to travel anymore. You do not need to visualize history anymore, for you have gathered all the beauty of the ages and brought it back with you to this moment of rest. Imagine that you are standing at the gate of a new garden, but this is not a garden made of soil and stone. This is the eternal garden of sleep, a landscape that exists within your own mind, a place that is yours and yours alone, created from your fondest memories and your deepest desires for peace. The gate is made of silver mist, and as you step through it, you leave behind the physical world. You leave behind the weight of your body, and you enter a space of pure tranquility. The light here is soft and diffuse, a twilight that never darkens into fear, but never brightens into wakefulness, a perpetual gloaming of indigo and violet that soothes the eyes and calms the spirit. The air in this internal garden is perfect. It is the temperature of comfort, neither too hot nor too cold, feeling like a silk sheet against your skin. As you walk barefoot on the grass, you feel that it is soft and cool, like moss that has been growing for 1,000 years, cushioning your every step, making you feel weightless and grounded at the same time. In this garden, every flower we have met on our journey is blooming in perfect harmony, not bound by seasons or geography, but blooming together in a silent chorus of beauty.
You see the ancient magnolia standing beside the English rose, the wild sunflower nodding to the Japanese cherry blossom, and the blue lotus floating in a pond surrounded by Dutch tulips. They are here to welcome you, to thank you for witnessing their stories, and to guide you into the final stage of your rest. There is a path winding through this garden, a path made of smooth, warm stones that seem to glow with a faint inner light, leading you deeper and deeper into the center of the sanctuary. As you walk, you notice that the air is filled with a fragrance that is the essence of all the flowers combined, a scent that is familiar and nostalgic, smelling of rain and earth and vanilla and honey, a perfume that acts like a heavy, comforting blanket for your mind. With every breath you take, you inhale this peace, and with every breath you release, you let go of the last remaining tensions of the day. The worries of the waking world cannot enter this gate. They are left far behind, fading into insignificance like shadows at noon. You are safe here, protected by the high walls of your imagination, walls that are covered in ivy and climbing roses that dampen every sound, creating a silence that is deep and resonant. This is not an empty silence, but a living silence, the sound of the universe resting. You find a place in the center of the garden, prepared just for you, a bed made of soft petals and clouds hovering slightly above the ground, inviting you to lie down. You lower yourself onto this bed, and it rises up to meet you, conforming perfectly to the shape of your body, supporting your neck, your back, your legs, holding you with the tenderness of a mother holding a child. As you lie there, looking up, you see the sky above you is a tapestry of stars, the same stars that watched over the dinosaurs and the pharaohs and the pioneers, and now they are watching over you, twinkling with a steady, rhythmic light that matches the beating of your heart. One by one, the flowers in your eternal garden begin to close for the night, a wave of relaxation spreading across the landscape. You watch as the lilies fold their petals, as the poppies bow their heads, as the roses curl inward. This is a signal to your own body, a command to shut down the senses. Your eyes are heavy, so heavy that they feel glued shut, and you have no desire to open them. Your ears are tuning out the external world, listening only to the steady rhythm of your breath, in and out, deep and slow. Your muscles are turning to liquid, melting into the mattress, releasing the knots in your shoulders, the tightness in your jaw, the tension in your hands.
You are sinking, sinking, sinking into the soft earth of the garden, becoming one with the roots and the soil. You feel a sense of profound gratitude for this journey, for the beauty of the world. But even that feeling is fading now, replaced by a simple, overwhelming need for sleep. The history of flowers is a history of resilience and rebirth, and you know that by sleeping, you are participating in that same cycle, recharging your energy so that you can bloom again tomorrow. But tomorrow is a long way off. Tomorrow is a different country. Right now, there is only the night. Right now, there is only the garden. A gentle breeze sweeps through the imaginary trees, making the leaves rustle with a sound like hush, sweeping away the last of your thoughts like fallen leaves. The garden is becoming darker, the colors fading into shades of gray and black. But it is a friendly darkness, a velvet cocoon that wraps you up tight. You are drifting on a river of silence, floating past the banks of consciousness, moving toward the vast ocean of dreams. The scent of the flowers is the last thing to remain, a faint, sweet reminder that beauty exists, anchoring you in peace as you drift away. You are no longer an observer. You are no longer a traveler. You are simply a sleeper, a part of the eternal nature of things. The boundaries of your body are dissolving, merging with the night air. You are the garden, and the garden is you. Deep inside your mind, a single rose remains open, glowing with a soft golden light, the center of your peace. Focus on that light. It is warm, it is steady, it is yours. And as you watch it, it begins to dim, slowly, gradually, fading like a sunset, guiding you down, down, down. The journey is complete, the story is told, the book is closed, the flowers are asleep, the world is asleep, and you, finally, are asleep. There is nothing left to do, there is nothing left to say, just the silence, just the dark, just the peace. Eternal, blooming, quiet peace. Sleep now, sleep in your garden, sleep in the history of the earth. Sleep, sleep, sleep.